I used to think freedom was a myth, something reserved for people with trust funds or wild luck. But I learned, standing in the grocery checkout line, that freedom is a series of choices, often made when your back is against the wall. The fluorescent lights overhead hummed as I shifted my weight from foot to foot, clutching a basket with eggs, bread, and some bruised apples. I glanced at the total on the screen as the cashier scanned my items, calculating whether my debit card would clear. The line behind me grew, a symphony of impatient sighs and shifting sneakers. I remember thinking, is this it? Is this how every week is supposed to feel, rushed, anxious, and one step away from embarrassment if my card declined? That morning, I'd woken up to the shrill beep of my alarm and the sky was still dark. Every day felt like a race I never quite finished, and the finish line kept moving. The truth is, living paycheck to paycheck isn't just about money. It's about time, energy, and dignity. But what if it isn't? What if there's a way to break the loop, even if you don't have a windfall or a magic skill? I used to believe that if I just worked harder, things would get better. But I found myself scrolling through my bank app, tallying up what was left after bills, feeling a familiar wave of dread. That time, I paused and asked myself, what would happen if I did something different for just 30 days? I decided to treat the next 30 days like a sprint, a focused, all-in experiment. I figured if I could survive years of this grind, surely I could survive 1 month of shaking things up. The first habit I tackled was tracking every dollar in a simple notebook. The act of noticing, of naming the leak in the boat, changed how I felt. About a week into my experiment, I got an email from a friend of a friend asking if I could help with some freelance work. That small yes was a crack in the wall I'd built around my time and skills. To avoid overwhelm, I knew I needed systems, not just hustle. I started by dividing my spending into buckets: essentials, fun, savings, and debt. It was slow, but the progress was visible. Each time I got paid, I moved money into these categories, even if the amounts were small. I began using the debt snowball method, paying off my smallest balance first. Investing had always seemed out of reach, but I learned about dollar-cost averaging. The act of investing, however small, made me feel like I was building instead of just surviving. Time management was another beast, but I started blocking out specific hours for my side hustles and rest. By the end of the 30 days, I had a buffer, small but real. I realized that freedom isn't a finish line. It's a series of choices made over and over. The systems I built weren't fancy, but they worked. I started sharing my story online, not as an expert, but as someone who'd been there. The response surprised me. People were hungry for practical steps, not hype. I realized that the path out of the 9 to 5 isn't a secret. It's a series of small, repeatable actions. I started to see patterns in the stories people told me. The turning point was always small. The journey out of the 9 to 5 grind is messy, non-linear, and deeply personal. If you're standing in your own checkout line, wondering if things can change, know this: the path is there, waiting for you.